cause and effect is a belief system the mind creates, that I need to do something. And this is back to your original question we started this discussion with, is how many of us hustle and work hard, because the mind creates the belief system to create the illusion and the experience of the human life. There needs to be certain belief systems, and one of them, which is completely false, is that there is a cause and effect. So when I do, in order to have something, to receive a result, I need to do something. I need to go to work. I need to find clients. I need to have my funnel done. I need to do whatever. For example, if I want a relationship, I need to go on dating site, or I need to do something. No, you don't. You shift. Things come to you. Mm-hmm. You don't need to do things. You are a human being and you need to be. The mind forces you to do, and that's the illusion. And then we are exhausted, then we are burned out. And does it work for us? No, because we create disease. And everything negative that is happening in our lives, whether it's relationship problems, whether it's disease, terminal illness, anything, points you back to yourself, understanding and realizing that that is not the way. Nothing what you're doing you need to do. The cause and effect is really just an illusion.
Hi, Daniela. Welcome to the Awaken Heart podcast.
Hey, Nancy. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Coming all the way from coast to coast. You're in Toronto, Canada, and I am in good old Portland, Oregon. We're experiencing the same kind of weather, I'm sure, as we leading into our holiday season. And I'm so really excited to have you on our show today on the podcast and what you're going to offer everybody that's listening. And I find it so important right now for women to really tap into something that's so, true and authentic to themselves. And a lot of women like myself, I used to do in the past, is hustle. And, we're burning ourselves out to exhaustion and doing everything that we feel that we should be doing and what society is telling us we should be doing, instead of tapping into something that's true and authentic for ourselves. So, and I know there's so much more outside of what we're seeing in this 3D, this physical reality. And you have tapped into that, and you are helping other women to do the same as well. So I know I gave a little bit of your intro, but if you could, a little bit of your background, but if you can go more into who you are and what led you into doing the work that you're doing now.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for the
You're
introduction.
welcome.
And as you said, we are programmed to hustle and work hard and struggle. And that comes from really lifelong and 1,000 years of human conditioning. And we just do it because we think that that is who we are, and that is how we are supposed to live life. So a bit about me, since you asked. I was there, working mom, a lot of work, a lot of deadlines, and kind of burned myself out, and to the point that I almost died when I was pregnant with my third child. So that was the first aha moment when I didn't start to ask myself a question, but I kind of had a knowing that there is no way that I came to do this. Life as I know it stopped making sense, like suddenly. After what I've experienced, it's like I had this deep knowing that there is no way I came here to hustle and prove myself and work hard and not see my kids and stress at work and then stress at home and then stress about bills and a kind of like vicious circle. So that was the first aha moment. And then it kind of accelerated from there. I was thrown into several what you can call spiritual experiences, and I did experience myself beyond the mind and body, and I gained more and more wisdom beyond, which is beyond the mind, understanding who we are, knowing who we are, knowing who I am, and I dropped the mind. Along the way, I dropped the mind, which allowed me to shift into a higher consciousness, which is our natural state, where fear doesn't exist, and one really sees and perceives the reality different. So the main distinction, I would say, is the reason why we see life as hustle and working hard and proving ourselves and kind of never have enough, because something always happens, is because we perceive on the lower dimension of the mind, and that's where all the conditioning is. We perceive life as and the world as fixed. So here I am being born here into this earth, and there are other people doing something, and I just learn how to do things, and I kind of go along and prove myself and do what others are doing. And here I am thinking that things are happening randomly out of the blue, and I need to learn some lessons, and I need to improve myself, and I need to whatever I need to do, what others are telling me to do. That is the lower consciousness. That is the illusion the mind creates for us. It's really the veil. When we shift our perception, when the mind dissolves, it's not like that. We see the true reality, I would say, and not the illusion. And the true reality is that there is no one out there except us. There are no others. There is no world. There is not one world. Each of us has their own world. The mind creates a holographic projection of the physical reality. The physical reality is not real. Our experience of the physical reality is real. When we know this and realize this, which is a part of the self-realization, the struggle and hard work and everything disappears, because there is nothing, there is not the environment which we believe that we need to struggle in, is no longer there. So to give you and the audience a bit of explanation, or the best analogy would be the dream. When we dream, whatever theme of the dream is, when you dream at night, whether it's a joyous dream or something fearful, you feel the emotions. You are there. You know, you do not see the dream like on the screen of TV, but you are the character of the dream. You are there, and you feel whatever is going on in terms of the theme of the dream. So the dream seems very real. You don't know you're dreaming. You only realize it was a dream once you wake up. And then once you wake up, where do you go to finish the dream? No matter how pressing the issue was, no matter someone may have chased you, maybe you were preparing for the math exam, whatever, or a big project to deliver a presentation. When you wake up, there is nowhere to go to finish the dream, to make sure that it ends the way you want. It never existed. So this is kind of the same analogy, that when one shifts into the higher consciousness, there is really nothing to do. The struggle disappears by itself, because the world as we've known it in the perception of the mind is no longer there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that really makes sense. I mean, there is lucid dreaming where people actually realize that they're in a dream, right? And then they can go in and actually make changes in the dream. I'm just thinking of, who is that? Don Miguel Ruiz. he's the one that talks a lot about like life, as the dream.
Yeah, I'm not
Reality is the
familiar.
dream. No.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, but that is the best analogy I can give in terms of lucid dreaming. That's even better analogy, because when you are in the higher consciousness, you actually see, you realize yourself dreaming, and you can correct, you're dreaming, and you also are aware of the character being kind of led where they need to be. So that is another thing, that another illusion that mind creates, and this is why we hustle and we strive and work hard. There is a perception and there is an illusion that there is free will. There is no free will. There never was. Once we shift into higher consciousness, we realize that the mind creates an illusion of free will in terms of our decisions and actions. But every decision you made in your life to this day, and every decision you will make until you die, it's not your decision. That decision is set, but it's not predetermined, because if we talk about predetermination, we are in the illusion of the mind, which means timeline. There is no timeline. So everything is set, but everything is done this moment. So right now, this moment, everything is done for you. And we're just characters of the dream. That is very clear, realized when the mind dissolves, that we never had. We were under illusion of free will and making our decisions and actions, but every action one takes during the day is not their action.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little. So we hear so much about our timeline and free will. So are you saying that everything happens in the moment, in the present state? There is no past, present, there is no past or future. Everything is happening in this now moment. And so are you saying that everything that is done is, so we're a holographic, living in a holographic universe, and something else is predetermining our actions? Can you unpack that a little bit more?
Yeah, of course. The something else is you. So again, the separation of, okay, so who is controlling me? It's you. Back to the analogy of the dream, the character of the dream and the dreamer are the same entity. There is just a separation that, well, I'm this and this is it. There is no one outside of you that is controlling it. It's you, but you don't know it's you. You think you are you think you are this personality that is you, but you are the consciousness that is you. And the personality in terms of the mind and body is also you. But now you see it clearly, that there is no separation between the consciousness you and the personality.
I understand. So it's like a wholeness. There's nothing outside of you. I mean, you can believe in the divine, but the divine is you, and it is us. It's within us. So, we go and seek the answers of our own heart. Correct? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And at the same time, there is not my consciousness and your consciousness. There is only one consciousness. So at the same time, the same consciousness that is you is also the others. And again, all actions that someone else does in your world, in your life, are set. And that one consciousness sets them. And it's in this moment right now. So anything from what your partner says or does during the day, your kids, your clients, nothing is a random thing. Everything is orchestrated and synchronized. We do not perceive that when we are in the mind. because the mind creates the separation, and hence we are lonely. We work hard, we prove ourselves, we justify ourselves, we need to heal ourselves, we need to do Reiki, we need to do all other modalities. And all that is the mind separation pointing us to something out there, the illusion of the reality it creates, that once you get that, once you are that, then you will understand. But the whole time, the consciousness is you. Again, the only way how to not experience, but realize it, is to drop the mind. As long as there is the mind being active in the conditioning, one lives in the illusion and has a hard time.
So it's getting out of the mind and into like the body and the frequency. The mind perceives things, and there's the ego, and they make justifications for whatever is the world, or feeling victimized. So everything in our environment we're in agreement with. Is that kind of what you're saying? So you're in agreement with something. So the people that show up in your environment are something that you are in agreement with, and that's not even through the mind. That's through a frequency and a vibration.
Everything what you experience, you're supposed to be experiencing. Nothing. If you invalidate anything that is going in your life, doesn't matter what it is, divorce, cancer, troubles with kids, if you invalidate it, you are invalidating your own existence, because it is you who every moment plans it, orchestrates it, and acts it out. So everything what is happening in your life is supposed to be happening. If it wasn't supposed to be happening, it wouldn't have happened. That alone shifts you into peace, because there is nothing to push against. And we push, humans push. That's what the mind does. Mind doesn't know the present moment. The mind refuses status quo, because the mind has a goal outside. There is goal somewhere outside, whether it's a spiritual goal, whether it's a relationship goal, whether it's how I need to improve myself goal, whether it's a business goal in terms of money. It's out there, right? And that distracts us from really understanding who we are. So again, everything that is happening in your life is supposed to be happening, and all you need to do is to understand that that is the truth, and then you shift into the next moment. But we push against ourselves, we push against what is. Meanwhile, it's us who do it every moment. So we pushed against ourselves, and we create that illusion of struggle and work hard and challenges and disease and relationship issues.
Because it throws you out of balance and out of harmony. So it's really accepting, well, you do need the mind for some things, but not be of the mind. Have the mind, but not be of the mind. And realizing that everything that's happening in our world, our soul or ourselves, we orchestrated that. And to use the mind at some point to learn the lesson, correct? Okay, and then just shift you back into balance.
That is a bit, learning a lesson suggests, again, a future. There is no future. So learning a lesson, right. What do I need to learn, right? It's never about the lesson, it's about experience. So it's about experience. You only need to go through the experience, and then the new experience comes. And everything is experience. For the consciousness, everything is experience. For the human and the mind, and one thing to to say that when I talk about the mind, is really the personality, is the mind-body personality, is the subject that sees this world as real. So it's the mind, the conditioned mind, and the body with its emotions, and that needs to be dissolved. But everything is experienced just as people go to movies, for example, and watch horror movies, right? And I mean, really, horror movies? And yet people do it, and they have a thrill. And why? Why would do it? Fear and terror and everything. Well, because it's an experience. People do skydiving because it's experience. Consciousness is creating the experience of physical reality to experience itself. It's really you're the consciousness that is experiencing itself through yourself. There is no one else out there, because consciousness is all that is. There is no experience. Only human can have experience. Again, back to the analogy of the dream. In the dream, you can dream about anything. Anything can happen in the dream. What it is about? Experience. Thrill, joy, love, sadness, happiness, fear, experience. And then you wake up like, wow, that was a tough one. Whew, I'm glad that is, what will be the next? That's who we are. And that's how life is. Life is not serious. And also, again, we create our environment. There is not one earth. So my earth is different than your earth. It's not one earth, and it's right now, and there is this earth history, billion of years, and there is this earth future. Time doesn't exist. The moment the mind ceases to exist, and that moment the body stops functioning, the earth disappears. There is no earth. Everyone who you see around you is there only because you are. For everyone and anything to exist, you need to be first.
Wow, that's some high level stuff that I keep thinking of the Matrix. So is it like the Matrix? Are we plugged in somewhere? And
no, we are not plugged in.
We're just all consciousness. Yep.
It's us. There is no one controlling us. It's us. And there is no one who is creating disease or whatever there is going on earth. If you're experiencing it, you chose to experience it as a consciousness because of the experience, and you can quickly get out of it when you realize that you have no free will.
It's so interesting. I had this dream last night, I believe it was. And when I was making my coffee this morning, I heard free will. I'm like, it's crazy because it's like free will. I'm like, free will was in my dream last night. And now we're talking about that. Something about you have no free will. There is no free will. And now we're having this conversation. I'm going to start writing my dreams down.
It's not crazy, because for the consciousness, there is no difference in dreams and life. You have to understand that as a human, for you, it's, this is dream and this is life. For the consciousness beyond the mind, the life is the dream and the dream is the dream. Both are the same, just as the experience of the illusion of the experience, this reality right now, this timeline is the same as medieval times. And we can access it as consciousness right now at this moment, because it's not past, it's a parallel reality. And this is how our life is created. The cause and effort is, a cause and effect is a belief system the mind creates, that I need to do something. And this is back to your original question we started this discussion with, is how many of us hustle and work hard, because the mind creates the belief system to create the illusion and the experience of the human life. There needs to be certain belief systems, and one of them, which is completely false, is that there is a cause and effect. So when I do, in order to have something, to receive a result, I need to do something. I need to go to work. I need to find clients. I need to have my funnel done. I need to do whatever. For example, if I want a relationship, I need to go on dating site, or I need to do something. No, you don't. You shift. Things come to you. You don't need to do things. You are a human being and you need to be. The mind forces you to do, and that's the illusion. And then we are exhausted, then we are burned out. And does it work for us? No, because we create disease. And everything negative that is happening in our lives, whether it's relationship problems, whether it's disease, terminal illness, anything, points you back to yourself, understanding and realizing that that is not the way. Nothing what you're doing you need to do. The cause and effect is really just an illusion. Because we as a consciousness, we shift into the experience of the reality, the next one. Every moment we shift. Now. The mind creates a timeline and an illusion of continuity, that this moment was first and this moment is now, and that moment will be next. Just like a movie is shot. There's like separate images and then the movie is done. That is how the illusion is being done. Just like when you watch a movie, it's a movie. If you would just see the pictures, it would not be a movie. You wouldn't have that experience. So that's part of our limitations and for this human experience, but we don't need to do stuff. We shift. When you understand that, again, if you know that there is no one out there and nothing out there, why would you push against anything? Where
just be
the funnel you're trying to build, the client, so many women are entrepreneurs. The clients you're trying to get, where are they? They're in your hologram. So if you're in the illusion that you need to get the clients, I need to work hard and you need to prove yourself, I need to lower prices or this marketing stuff or whatever, well, yeah, you will be doing it for the rest of your life. When you drop that, the clients will come. Why? Because you shift into a different parallel reality.
I totally understand that, because I've read like quantum mechanics and quantum physics and parallel universes. It's really like when trying to understand it in the mind, it blows my mind. But it's like a radio frequency. Like there's so many frequencies. It's just like getting onto that higher frequency so you can be not on the timeline or whatever, but it's a shift. So how do you help women or people or your clients shift and understand about shifting into that higher consciousness? How do you guide them into this? Because a lot of us are operating on this 3D world, and most of us are living in our mind and making that shift, because literally everything can come to us. Everything that we desire, it's already within us, and we just kind of magnetize that into our reality. I don't think I'm saying that correctly, but a lot of people feel like because it's out there, they need to bring it to them. How do they shift into this, that they already are all these things, and instead of hustling and running out there to get it, how do they allow it into their experience? Or that they're already having that experience to bring it into where they are now, because we are on this 3D timeline reality. We are operating on this plane, even though we're consciousness.
Yeah.
I don't know do you understand what I'm trying to allude at? I don't know quite how to say it.
Absolutely. So again, it's you cannot go there with the mind. The mind is the one that creates the illusion. The mind is the one that created the subject, which is you, the personality, and the body. And the mind is the one that creates the world, the object. And both the subject and the object and the act of the perception of the object is the part of the illusion. So what needs to be is you need to what I call drop the mind. Actually, the mind drops by itself, because you cannot drop the mind, because you are pushing against yourself. You have to understand that the mind was created by the consciousness, which is you. So, but for the purpose of understanding logic, that logically explaining it is, it's literally the mind is the unconscious consciousness, and that unconscious consciousness needs to become conscious. Bear in mind that the consciousness is never unconscious, but what we refer to the mind is consciousness itself. So you need to direct yourself back to yourself, which is being, not doing, and being now in every moment, and letting everything else just to be. So when you ask how I help clients, first of all, I feed their mind in terms of logically, just as I'm explaining now to you, so they understand what's going on and the difference. But then I activate them into higher consciousness, in meaning I show them how to be every moment, every second, and not to be in the mind, but really to be in their being, and just really to observe, being a witness of life, being a witness of what is. Again, back to what I was saying, if you understand that there is no free will, let's do this, Nancy. If you understand, if you believe, just, okay, even if you think, okay, this is kind of nonsense, but okay, let's play for a few minutes. Let's say you believe, or you understand that there is no free will. And every moment you do, every decision you make, every action you make, no matter what is the decision, there is no right or wrong, is the decision and the action you should be making. What else is there for you to do?
Just be.
What does it mean just to be?
Just to trust and allow. It's already, everything that I desire is already mine, that it's already.
Yeah. So let's say we finish this podcast, and you go and grab a coffee, afternoon coffee. What is going on in your head? What is going in your being when you go and grab the coffee, and when you drink the coffee?
Having the experience of it. Well, right now it's the thought of going I'm already thinking about going to get the coffee and planning.
But imagine, but you said it. Yeah. Because see how now immediately when I say you will be going grabbing a coffee, immediately the mind creates the timeline, which is future. In future I will be going. That is the illusion. But again, we are trying to be in this human 3D, and I'm trying to explain the consciousness. But let's say now is the moment, and you are now going to grab a coffee. You are not thinking about, I will be going to get a coffee. You will be experiencing going to grab a coffee. And then you will be drinking the coffee. You will be not thinking about what will I do tomorrow, and what do I need to do? What do I need to arrange? What do I need to say to that client of mine, or whatever? No. If you know that whatever in the moment is happening is supposed to be happening, you will be experiencing drinking that coffee. There is no to-do list. There is no planning. There is no hustling. There is nothing. There is a deep peace and very fulfilled life, because every moment you are fully present. Your kids come and share something about the school. You don't think about a client. You don't think about the dishes or what you are with them. And here's the thing. When you are in that state, it's a higher consciousness, when the mind is not, it's not having that rigid conditioning. You understand that everything, for example, that is happening, there is a reason for it. Your kid may come from school and says one line, says one sentence, which if you were in the mind conditioning, it will be like very mundane sentence. In higher consciousness, you know exactly why that kid said the sentence. You know exactly why that neighbor just passed in front of your house. You know exactly why you talk to that cashier that you talk to. It's a different perception of life. You have a complete clarity of life and what it is, and you don't control anything, and you don't stress.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called, it's, someone said it, and I don't know who was that at. The death of the mind is the birth of the wisdom, and that is it. You don't need any information. You don't need to study. You don't need to take any courses. You don't need anything. Everything what you need comes to you when you need it. You completely trust life, and you build your wealth and your life in absolute accelerated motion because you don't push against yourself. You go through experiences you need to go, and you switch into the next one, and the next one is always more wealthier, more abundant, more joyous, because that's how it is.
Mm-hmm. So you're just in the flow and experiencing everything as it happens, as it is, and living in a complete state of trust and surrender. I can see how there's a lot of peace in that, because
There is a complete peace
and empowerment as well.
Yeah. And there is nothing to prove to anyone. There is nothing to justify. There is nothing. Whoever needs to be in your life will come into your life. Whoever doesn't need to be in your life, they will leave your life, and you're fine with that. It's, you are the one creating it. Why would you push against it? Only if you believe you're a helpless human and you were dropped onto this earth and you need to do what the rest are doing. That's the illusion the mind created. It's I sometimes tell my clients that it's like kind of like the Hunger Games, or the I like kind of like putting you in on an island, and now you have to those challenges, survivor, and you need to get yourself like out of it. Yeah, if you believe that you need to survive and you need to go all through the challenges, then you need to do it, and that's life perceived under the conditioning of the mind. When you realize that the island was just an illusion, you just drop a phone call to the producer or whatever, and you say, well, I'm out. I'm canceling my contract, and the helicopter will come and you will say home. That's how it is. I'm out. And decide not to do it anymore, because why would you decide to wake up? Decide to, as long as you will believe that the dream is real, you will need to work hard and prove yourself. Just like when you're dreaming and the dream is terrifying, you feel fear and you try to avoid whatever is happening. When you wake up, where do you go finish the dream? That place never existed, only in your imagination. The world as you see it and think of it is completely a product of your imagination.
So to understand this a little better, so it's shifting into a certain way of being. So someone might say, well, Daniela, I have like these taxes to pay, and I have to like drop the kids off at school, and I have to pay this bill or go to this doctor's appointment. But that's operating from the mind instead of shifting into that state of being. And so people just have to shift, because that's mind. That's mind. All these dictates, like, so people don't think that they're just, okay, well, I'm sitting here and doing nothing and nothing's coming to me. My bills aren't going to be paid. I'm going to be kicked out of my house, but that's still operating out of the old programming, and they haven't shifted into this alignment and trust and knowing that we are creating, everything is, and we are creating our own experience.
Yeah, it's really difficult for the logical mind to grasp it, because the logic, what you said, is perfectly comes from the logic, and the assumption is, okay, so do I just sit and wait? And I completely understand, because it's the mind. It's like, okay, so being, okay, will my kids starve? How will my bills get paid? Being, okay, first of all, it's true that you really only need about, I would say, 8% of the action you do daily in terms of for you to live very happy, fulfilled, and rich and abundant life. About 92% of the action is absolutely counterproductive, because humans are entangling themselves in the results of the action, and it's because of the illusion of free will. No. So yes, you drop a lot of action, but also I want to clarify that being doesn't mean doing nothing. Being means that when you pay the taxes, you can be. You're just not in the head. You're experiencing paying the taxes. For the consciousness, it's like, okay, I'm experiencing paying the taxes. If you need to drop the kids to school, again, you're experiencing that. But you are not thinking about paying taxes then, or about your clients. You're being. Being doesn't mean sitting on the sofa or going to Himalayan, to Tibet and meditate. You can choose so, but that's the message I'm trying to convey, because there is this perception of that, well, either I end up as a monk in Himalayan, and then, that's not the life I want. And I'm like, no, I have 3 kids and a business, and I'm being, and I work 4 hours a week. That's it. I don't work more because I don't need to. And that's what I help my clients to do. The most recent, I worked with someone who wrote 7 bestsellers, 7 books on spiritual and personal development ones. Within 1 week, her mind dropped so fast that she deleted her 2 manuscripts she wrote, and she understood that everything was coming from the mind, and things she is being, and things are happening on that level to her. And she understood that it was her personality proving, and the belief and the urge to be seen, because she wasn't feeling whole, to be seen, to want to write more and more and more books. So that is the illusion the mind creates, doing more. Mind is about doing. Consciousness is about being. Being doesn't mean being passive. Being means living fulfilled life, abundant, rich, healthy life, and enjoying every moment of it. That is the difference.
That all sounds so wonderful. 4-hour work week, and having just not having to stress and worry. And that's an incredible story that she actually deleted manuscripts, because that takes a long time to create. And did she create something else out of being since you've worked with her? Okay.
Yeah. But it's that is also a trust. And again, when everything, mind is not only about the action, but all our fears, all our addictions, all our addictive behaviors, all our patterns are programmed in the mind. The moment the mind starts dissolving, you are being. You just are. And it's absolute freedom, because you don't need to write a thing to prove yourself. You may or may not. You don't need to do a video. You don't need to do Facebook. You may or you may not. Whatever you need to experience will find yourself. It's really a magic when what you need, you always have. You want information, you have it. The mind doesn't trust that. The mind is like, no, I need to go on Google and spend 5 or 6 hours searching. No, you don't. You would be surprised. I go, if I need any information, I never search frantically. I'm like, oh yeah, I need that. And 1 hour later, either my daughter comes and tells me, hey mom, look what I found. And I'm like,
Mhm.
really? And
Mhm.
that is it. Strangers in the grocery store would drop a line, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Like everything you create, again, you really need to understand that the earth you are living on is your creation. There is not one earth. So everything serves to you. Everything serves to you. Every single bird, every single person. When we are in the mind, in the illusion, in the conditioning, we don't see that. We miss everything. We miss everything. And because we are in the mind trying to do it ourselves, trying to find the right solution ourselves. No, you are the consciousness that created a problem and that has the solution. And all you have to realize is you just be there for the ride and observe and witness it. Because the moment you have a problem, the solution exists. Otherwise, the problem could not be there. It's the same entity. Again, if I use the word entity, that is not correct, because consciousness cannot be there. You cannot put label on that who you are. You need to self-realize who you are. That's why it's a bit difficult to explain who you are. But that is the perception of life. That is kind of like a difference between the low conditioning of the mind and the higher consciousness, when you realize who you are.
And it comes to mind, I am that I am. I am. I am. And being that, going through the world, I mean, as you were talking, it's like, wow, what a magical, wondrous place this is. Like every experience, it's like beginner's mind, but not of the beginners in the mind, but there's a blank slate in your mind because you just are, and you're operating from that place of just being. And I could walk through my woods and just experience it as it is, because every moment is just leading beautifully into the next. Even something that might seem distressing in the moment, just knowing that we created that for whatever we need to experience in that moment, that we might perceive as like
always. Exactly. And the clarity, what I mentioned, is that even when something negative is happening, you, in the higher consciousness, you know why it's happening. You have you do not take, there is no such thing as negative, because again, negative
is mind.
Negative and positive are two opposites, and that's the mind. There is only consciousness. Consciousness cannot be negative and cannot be positive. It's just consciousness. And what you said, I am that I am, that's exactly it. And also on that note, I think there is another line which says, I think it's from Bible. I think Jesus said it, before Abraham was, I am. And that, if you think about it, and the chills. And if you think about it, before Abraham was, I am. It's what I said, that nothing can exist unless you are. Everything exists and everyone exists because you are. The moment you stop being, the moment your mind stops functioning, creating the illusion, the world as you know it and the earth as you know it disappears. There is nothing. There is nothing. That is when we fully wake up.
And there's so much freedom in that. So much freedom. The way most people are living their lives now, especially here in the Western world, that it's so much mind, and to be able to drop into being is such a gift that you're offering to help people realize. And I love it. I mean, I understand a lot of these, what you're talking about. And, my whole life, I've been working on getting out of this. I think it's everyone's journey to get out of this mind and into the being. And, like you said, there's less than 1% that are actually doing that and living the life that, that they've always wanted, or that they are. And so how do people, what are, before we wrap up, just a few more questions. How would you today have somebody that's listening like, okay, well, this sounds great, but how do I do that? Like, I know it's just dropping the mind, but what are some steps that they could take, like modalities or meditation or something? I mean, I know it can be a decision like that and you can drop into your body, but somebody that's not used to these concepts, how could somebody start today to drop into that state of being and realizing that all is happening through them instead of to them?
Be and observe the
Mhm.
reality as it is, and just be. So right now, this moment, I don't know, do we have time? We can do it now.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, if we have a few minutes.
Mhm.
Close your eyes. And if when people are listening, you can follow. Please do not do this when you drive. Do not close your eyes when you're driving. And just observe what is right now, this moment. Observe and listen or register my voice. Register any sounds that are there in your room. Register your breath. If your body needs to move to adjust position, register that your body moved and adjusted position. If you need, or if the body needs to take a deeper breath, register that the body took a deeper breath. If there is a sound coming from outside, a car goes by, register it. Just literally observe what is now. Consciousness is always present and is always now. The mind is always in the future. Register any thoughts that are coming. Don't join them. No matter how important they seem to be. Just simply acknowledge them, that they are there. Register any feelings or emotions you have. Excitement, fear, peace. Just witness what your body is doing, how your body is feeling. The mind and the body is a part of the outside world. It's part of the illusion. They serve you for the experience, but you are not the one who is experiencing it. The body experiences. You are the consciousness that perceives everything that is being experienced. As such, consciousness only is. Cannot be interrupted. It cannot be divided. So if now I tell you, Nancy, open your eyes, the consciousness still is. You still observe me talking and looking at you. If someone would walk into the room right now, into your office, you would observe them coming into the office. The mind would perceive it as an interruption because I have a goal. I need to podcast to finish. This shouldn't be happening. With a consciousness, it just happens. So practicing on your own is what really helps, because it shifts you from the business of the mind and separates you from the mind and the body, which are very conditioned. The mind creates the body. The emotions you feel, the thoughts you think are not yours. You think they're yours. So that separation needs to happen first. That separation leads then to the dissolving of the mind, which never existed, because there is only consciousness. Consciousness is all that is. It's there, and you are it.
That felt so good. And when I'm doing that, and well, when I opened my eyes, everything looked a little different. Like it looked a little more vibratory, but literally I am not in this body and I am everywhere. Like my consciousness is everywhere. So my stomach was growling. I'm like, I hope the microphone didn't pick that up. So I was observing all that, but I also wasn't just sitting here. I can see behind me. I see around me. I'm everywhere. So I will practice that more. It's a good practice.
So that is, I don't know if you ever heard, but when people have near-death experiences, and then they come back into the body, and then they they report that, oh, I was seeing my body, and I knew everything, and I observed everything. I saw everything. I was it. That's who we are beyond the mind and body. That's who we are when we do the thing we call death. But again, nothing exists apart from us, and nothing can exist without you. So you are the one who creates your world. So make sure you create the one you want. How do you do that? Well, wake up from the dream.
It's almost like Avatar. That's what I'm thinking right now. Just this and this mind are all you were operating through the consciousness operating through this body, Nancy, this mind, Nancy, and just surrendering all of this and being that is operating the avatar. Beautiful. Beautiful. So how do people work with you? Like, do you have a site, or do you have any new programs coming up? Do you do
I don't
coaching?
I don't have a programs. I do right now I do exclusively private coaching.
Okay.
So if people are interested, they can go to my website, which is DanielaSulek.com, my first name, last name.com, and they can contact me through my website.
Oh, terrific. And I really enjoyed this conversation. Like I know a lot of my audience, they are up with these, like, this is like up there as far as something to perceive and to understand. And some of them are wrapped around that, because we've talked about this kind of higher consciousness stuff before, but it's such a really great conversation, because it's like realizing that, everything isn't, a lot of stuff is illusion out there, especially with what's happened in the last couple of years in our world. It's like understanding and not getting pulled away and realizing that it's an illusion, or everything, it's not outside of us. All this stuff that's happening in the world has really nothing to do with us and how we're being, right?
It has to do with us, as long as we believe it to be real. So that's what I see, and I work with a lot with really high performing coaches or spiritual coaches who've been
Mhm.
on a spiritual path for 10, 15 years. And even the whole thing about, well, we need to save the planet and we need to increase the consciousness of the humanity. You have to go to the basis. Which planet? Where is the planet? You are creating the planet. So if you believe that there is a planet that needs to be saved, you will be saving it until the rest of your day, until the end of your life, and you will create and come up with certain modalities and whatever that needs to be saved. Again, if you know that you are creating the world, then, and that the world is illusion, there is nothing to change. There is nothing to change. There is only, the only thing that stays is to observe what comes. So I know I don't need to heal anything and anyone, but I am in this body, in this lifetime. So I know that if there is someone who needs to be in my life and I need to help them, they will come. Because I am not the one making the decision. There is no free will. If there is someone who needs to hear something from my speech, they will hear it. I don't need to blast it all over the social media. They will, because I'm not the one who is doing it. So again, it's the pushing against ourselves. We need to raise our frequency. We need to heal ourselves. We need to, no, forget about world. Like I would say to everyone, forget about the rest of the world. The world is you. So as you see it, that's how the world is. If you see it failing, if you see it going wrong way, you will, and you will have a perception that you are helping. Yeah, absolutely. But it's very, very exhausting and exhausted. So exhausting. So wake up, stop dreaming and realize it's a dream. And then you can have it any way you want. You just observe where life leads you. And believe me, life will lead you to absolutely miraculous things, because you are it. You are life. You don't live life. You are life.
So if you're dreaming a nightmare that the world is, that's what you're going to live in. And if you're dreaming that it's this wonderful, miraculous place, that's, that's what you're going to live into as well.
Yeah, but that can sound as a toxic positivity a little bit, like, ooh, I imagine. No.
Right.
Yeah, and I know you didn't mean it
not
like that.
spiritual
I just
bypassing and stuff.
It's
not Pollyanna. Ooh, rainbows and unicorns. You're just going to experience.
What I want to say, that if you need for your experience an earth that needs helping, you will experience that, and you will meet people and do things that seems like you are helping and you need to heal. But now the difference between the low consciousness of the mind is you believe the illusion and that this is real. In the higher consciousness, you know that because you're still human. In the higher consciousness, as long as you have a body and a mind, you are in a 3D. So I know it's an illusion, but I know I am exactly where I need to be. So when someone comes to me and asks for help because they have terminal illness, relationship issues, or they just want to drop the mind, whatever they have, I am not going to tell them, well, it's an illusion, just, whatever. No, I'm going to help them because, for the experience, because that will lead to something else. Because the consciousness is the one that directed that person to me, and the consciousness is the one that controls and sets my body and my thinking and emotions in terms of the relation of the person. So it's living in this world, but seeing it completely differently and not being lost in it.
I completely understand. That's what I was alluding to completely, because I've gone through that in the last couple of years myself. And now I'm more up here than just getting, like the blowing wind. I'm not the blowing wind and getting triggered by this and triggered by that. I am, seeing it in a different perspective. Well, thank you so much, Daniela. This has been a really inspiring conversation, one that I want to take with me and embody it. But one more question before we go, I ask all my guests is, what does it mean for you to live with an awakened heart?
Be fully present wherever I am. Just be where I am as I am.
Be where you are as you are. I love that. Well, thank you, Daniela. I appreciate you coming on here, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. I loved it. And
Good.
yeah, very, very happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.